Good evening. Let me know if the sound is loud enough. Can you all hear behind me? How about this one? Oh, yes. I could hear that. All right. Good evening and welcome to all of you in the room. I'm sorry it feels strange to have my back to you all, and also those of you who are watching virtually. My name is Victoria Turner. I'm with the St. Louis League of Women Voters, and I will be your moderator tonight. I want to thank the candidates for participating and the City of Wildwood for sponsoring this forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization, and we believe that one of the best ways for voters to learn about people seeking election is to hear candidates speak and answer questions in a forum such as this. On April the 2nd, you will be picking a mayor and a councillor in each of your 8 wards. So tonight we will start with the forum for mayor. We'll go 30, 40 minutes with the 2 candidates here, and then we will switch and get the council candidates up here. Excuse me. I would appreciate it if you all would hold your applause until the end. And if you could minimize the comments and conversations in the room. These mics, when we live stream, tend to pick up all kinds of things. The candidates have seen the ground rules already, but I'll run through them for the audience. This is a forum. This is not a debate. This is the opportunity for the candidates to give you their views. It's not for them to criticize each other. All candidates will answer every question. They will have 2 minutes each for their opening statement. Then the answers will be 1 minute, and then 2 minutes closing statement. They're seated in ballot order. We will start with opening statements, Mr. Salvatore, Mr. Garitano. Closing statements will be in the reverse order, and we'll switch out for the questions so that the same person is not always having to answer first. Our timer here is Jan. She will show the candidates when they have 30 seconds left. And when she says stop, you stop. I will let you finish your sentence, but please no huge run-on sentences. And just for the audience, I think you saw it, but it's a 2-sided paddle. So if they keep talking and you see stop, that's because they see the other side of it. So questions were submitted from links on the city website and the League of Women Voters website. And there's also questions that were submitted from the room tonight. If you would like to submit a question now that you're here, we have volunteers, if you would wave, with pencils and cards who that will let you write down your question. They'll bring it up to me. If you would please mark on your card whether your question is for the candidates for mayor or the candidates for council. I would appreciate that. And please, 1 question per card. So it's likely that we won't have time to answer every question that's submitted. I have looked at the online questions. I will combine some to try and cover the main areas of interest. But if you don't have your question answered, the candidates will have information on how to contact them, and maybe you can go ask it in person. So I will introduce now the candidates for mayor. We have Mr. Tony Salvatore, Mr. Joe Garitano. And you may give him a round of applause at the beginning. So we will start with opening statements. You have 2 minutes, and we will start with you, Mr. Salvatore.
Yes, I would like to thank the League of Women's Voters and all that are here and watching online tonight. It's a pretty nice crowd. Thank you. The reason I am running for mayor is due to my concern for the direction that Wildwood's elected officials are taking us right now. The master plan is being ignored. Meetings are being held in closed session without citizen input. Contracts are being awarded without the legal bidding process. Builders are being awarded zoning and variance changes that are in conflict with our master plan. The police are being politicized to go after the current leadership's political rivals. There is little transparency in our city government. We need new leadership, and I believe I can lead us back to our founding principles. This is our city, not for the few, but for the many. Thank you.
You're done.
Okay, let's try it again. Good evening, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this candidate forum. A warm welcome to all of you here tonight, those joining us online, and to every citizen of Wildwood who shares our dedication to the future of our city. And a special thanks to my family sitting right there. My name is Joe Garitano, and I'm deeply honored to be running for mayor of Wildwood. For those of you who may not know me, my journey in Wildwood started long before my decision to run for mayor. As a resident, a council member, and a passionate advocate for our community, I've always believed in the power of service, community engagement, and the importance of preserving the unique character that makes Wildwood the city we all love. My campaign is built on a foundation of integrity, accountability, and unwavering commitment to serve every resident of Wildwood, irrespective of the ward you call home. I'm running for mayor because I believe in Wildwood's potential to thrive while maintaining the balance between our cherished natural landscapes and responsible community-focused development. It is our duty to safeguard this balance for current and future generations, ensuring Wildwood remains a place of beauty, opportunity, and community for all who call it home. Together we face challenges, but also incredible opportunities, from enhancing our local economy to protecting our green spaces, from improving city services to fostering a community of togetherness. We have the chance to shape a Wildwood that truly serves everyone. I'm here to listen, to share my vision, and to work tirelessly to make that vision a reality. Thank you once again for being here tonight. I'm eager to discuss how we can collectively work towards a brighter future for Wildwood, and I humbly ask for your support in this endeavor. Let's make Wildwood not just a place to live, but a place to thrive.
Thank you. Right, we'll move on to the questions. We'll start with you, Mr. Garitano. What are the top 3 issues that need to be addressed in Wildwood, and how would you address them?
Top 3 issues. Number 1, we've been working on this for some time, is getting the internet project completed for all our rural wards. We have people who have not had access to internet or poor internet access, and we're getting it done. The second is the watershed erosion project. We've got a serious problem in our city. The creeks are eroding. It's affecting the infrastructure, the roads. We have to address it before it becomes a very costly expense for our city. Another major issue is something I passionately want to work on, is communication from the city to you. I'm known throughout my ward for my communication with my newsletters, and I want to do even more than what I've already been doing through my videos, communicating, hearing, and listening to you. This community, this city should feel like home for all of you.
Salvatore?
There's multiple issues, but I say the top 3 would be transparency. Right now, the city does not have any very little transparency. A lot of the meetings they hold are in closed session. And when you ask for records, they've charged me as much as $3,993 for a few emails that didn't even exist. This is our city. We should be able to see them at work, and transparency is probably paramount. Additionally, we should follow the master plan. We have seen where the master plan is not being followed. Zoning and variances are being given to developers and builders, and we don't even know what's happening. In one council meeting, they had a hearing and 2 readings in one night, unprecedented for a development of town center. Additionally, this is the citizens' city. It's
Thank you.
not just for a few. Thank you very much.
We'll start with you, Mr. Salvatore, for the next question.
Okay.
Many storefronts and restaurants sit vacant. What will you do to help bring in new businesses, restaurants, et cetera, that will stay?
Well, economic development is it's not let me just start off with Wildwood is bedroom community in the farthest reaches of West County. We are somewhat off the beaten path, and many people move out here because they want privacy and less commercial traffic, yet still want some goods and convenient services. We need to strike a balance with that by following the town center plan. And thank you.
You have 30 seconds.
That's
Okay.
what I have right now. Economic
okay.
development, I'll go on to it. With economic development, we really cannot, I cannot overemphasize. We have to be careful that we do not destroy the city's green spaces and allow developers to take over our city. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. On my website, gojog.com, the number 3 priority that I list is promoting economic vitality. You know, I've heard too many times, and we moved here back in 2008. We really thought the city would advance more than where it is today. And I'd love to see these businesses thrive. They need the support of the community because there's a lot of competition out there. And so working with the new group that's being formed that is replacing the Wildwood Business Association, I think there's a good way for these businesses to share best practices so that they can share what's working. We know we hear issues about labor. You know, it's hard to find people to work in restaurants. We have issues where there's foot traffic in parts of our city. And so there's a lot of opportunity where we can work collectively together. I always say I want to build an economic ecosystem, and you see it. There's over a dozen health and fitness type businesses in Wildwood, but we don't promote them. We got to get out there and promote these businesses to the community and to the region because we've got a lot.
Thank you. We'll start with you again, this one. What are your thoughts on Wildwood's need for housing? Are you in favor of or against developing more single-family homes and or multifamily properties?
All right, so that's a very big topic in our city here. And in Ward 8, where I represent, we face it quite a bit. So there is a need for housing. We hear from people that they would like to see more of the retirement, the villas, types of housing like that. There are situations where we really have to make sure we are following the town center plan and the master plan. Wildwood was built by design, and the town center, which represents only 2% of all of Wildwood, of all the land, it promotes the higher density because it protects the rest of Wildwood, the 98%. There are 20% of parks and trails, and the 78% is what we call our 3 acres, which I strongly believe in making sure we protect those 3-acre lots outside the town center. But we have to follow it. And I would like to promote that we look at the building guidelines. The setbacks, they're too narrow. They allow the homes to be too close. We've allowed roads to be too narrow where there's parking issues. So we need to address those issues.
Mr. Salvatore?
Yeah, single and multifamily housing. We have some multifamily units here and mostly in Ward 8. Additionally, what we're seeing right now is like town center plan. We have the plan calls for rear garages and the fronts not to have the garage driveways in the front in the town center. Yet we just gave variances to a builder a couple of weeks ago to go ahead and put the garages through the front. So we're seeing our town center plan being dismantled as we speak here. I believe in following the master plan and the town center plan. We are now putting 3,500 square foot homes on 4,000 square foot lots. And they just give approval to that just a month ago. So that to me is not acceptable. And as far, thank you very much.
And the next question will start with you.
Yeah.
In December 2022, the Missouri Supreme Court en banc upheld Creve Coeur's right to deny a conditional use permit based on simple wording that was contained in their ordinance. That wording was, the city reserves full authority to deny any request for a conditional use. Why has this not been put into our ordinance, and will you make it a priority?
Yes, definitely make it a priority. We should, that would have really helped us with the Solus agri-sciences that was going to go up on the far greenhouses. Also would help us in putting up, they're trying to put up, Amarin is trying to put up a 200-foot tower and in right by far greenhouse too. So we definitely, that is a high priority. And I am surprised they haven't done that yet. It's been almost a year. So that is definitely something we need to do and do it quickly. Thank you.
Can you repeat that one more time?
In December 2022, the Missouri Supreme Court en banc upheld Creve Coeur's right to deny a conditional use permit based on simple wording that was contained in their ordinance. That wording was, the city reserves full authority to deny any request for a conditional use. Why has this not been put into our ordinance, and will you make it a priority?
Well, most recently, there is that proposal that was denied by both planning and zoning and upheld by the city council regarding the Solace proposal. And so therefore that proposal is now dead. But one thing we have an issue with right now is that when you have these gray areas where they're not addressed in our current code, it means someone can come back again with another proposal. And so we're going to address that, and I hope to see it in council, just like how we address the issue of toxic contamination over at Strecker. We created a special circumstances overlay district that requires, if anyone even wants to dare touch that property, to follow very strict guidelines, enhanced testing, a lot of steps that wouldn't normally be taken. And that's to protect the public health and safety. In fact, I probably think most people wouldn't want to pursue that route because it's just so costly and time intensive. And so that's what we need to do just with the Solace proposal. We need to make sure that we have our laws completely covered.
Hey, Mr. Garitano, we'll start with you this time. It has been reported that in the past, the relationship between city staff and elected officials has been strained. What steps would you take to regain the trust of the city staff?
Well, there was a period in time a while back, even when I was early on in council, where there was some elected officials that had given our staff very difficult circumstances to work under. And that even led to the censure of one of those council members by the council. So as far as steps that I would take is making sure that we have a very good relationship with our staff, making sure, back to what I keep talking about all the time, building a sense of community. That doesn't just happen outside City Hall. It has to happen also inside here. We set the tone for our city, for our community. So we want our residents to look at City Hall as a model, as an example that we can work together. And we can accomplish a lot if we're working together. The big thing around it is just communication. If we can communicate better, and that's why I always keep going back to my communication and my relationship with the residents that I represent. So that's my goal, is working to make sure that we all are on the same team.
Well, we have had 6 city managers in 7 years. That many of the city managers come and go within 6-month period. So that says enough that there seems to be some problem here, probably a huge problem here with how what's going on in the city itself within the staff here. We also have had in the deposition, one gentleman here indicated that it's very strained and the city staff is very strained. The mayor doesn't even know their names. He walks around. He's very he's not conversive with them, and he's very controlling of the city staff. He's also very controlling of the city manager. This is in deposition, so this is not hearsay. I I would make it a priority to know everybody's name and get along and make sure that everybody has a forum to go ahead and express their thoughts. Thank you very much.
Mr. Salvatore. If you are elected mayor, do you plan to continue with the well-attended Coffee with the Mayor meeting for resident comments and questions? Why or why not?
I would call it coffee with the residents because the mayor is not supreme authority. And neither is the council. We work for the people. So if I have we will have monthly get-togethers, and it'll be get-togethers with the people of Wildwood. And it would be an honor to go ahead and hear them, their thoughts, and what they would, what their feelings are, what they need done in the city. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the simple answer is absolutely yes, and even more. I believe transparency is the foundation of trust. And building upon our current efforts, I plan to increase direct communication to our residents through frequent video updates, enhanced social media engagement, interactive forums. I aim to keep all our residents informed about the workings of our city. This commitment is about strengthening our connection, ensuring that every Wildwood resident feels heard, informed, and engaged in our city's future.
Mr. Garitano, what kind of development do you feel would support the town center plan?
Well, I have to go back to the town center plan then, because that's what dictates what goes in the town center. The plan is a plan that dictates what land uses we have, and we have various districts, whether it's the downtown district, neighborhood general, neighborhood edge. And so there is a plan. There is a process every 10 years that the town center update plan is reviewed by a committee, a group of residents, and they come up with recommendations to update the plan. So as far as what I believe there are opportunities for improvement in the town center plan. It's something we keep hearing over and over from our residents. The density is an issue. In fact, how I got involved in council was me being a resident sitting out here. I was the HOA president at the time, and I led a group of our residents because a 62-home proposal was being proposed for 11 acres. Well, through efforts coming to meetings here, we got that down to 38. We felt that was a win-win for the residents, a win-win for the city, a win-win for everyone involved. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to address development.
Could you repeat the question one more time, please?
What kind of development do you feel would support the town center plan?
Well, the town center plan is very specific. And if we follow it and not allow developers and builders to go ahead and get variances, like just happened a month ago, and zoning changes, I think we will have a very nice town center plan where you can walk. We'll have shops. We'll have single family units. And we should follow our architectural review board. And right now, the city's trying to get rid of our architectural review board. And our architectural review board has actual qualified architects in it. And to get rid of them would be disastrous for the city. But it would help developers have a smoother road to get their variances and also their rezoning. The latest variance was also to make the streets smaller for our town center, which is totally against our town center plan. Stick to the town center plan and make sure we have an architectural review board. Thank you.
Mr. Salvatore, how do you describe diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Well, it's DEI, as people like to call it, but diversity. We have diversity up here. We got 2 Italians, so that's there's a lot of diversity here. So this is all inclusive. Everyone should be safe to come here and not have the police go after them, or not have the police called after them because they're holding up a sign. That happened to me. So that's a federal violation. This should someone coming through Wildwood should not be stopped because the color of their skin or because they look different. Thank you.
All right. Well, I don't have any experience in the courts or being convicted, so I can't speak from that perspective. But one thing that I will say is diversity, equity, inclusion is very important for our city. You know, we have to make
We
sure
could
that we
keep
have.
quiet in the audience, please. I'm sorry, Mr. Garitano. We'll give you your time. Please keep your comments to a minimum. I wasn't looking straight at you, ma'am. I was trying to turn around. Go ahead. If you need to start over, you may, but.
I will. Thank you. I appreciate you starting the clock over again. So DEI, you mentioned over here, we are a city where we attract people from throughout St. Louis and throughout the area. And so we have to have an open mind when it comes to things here in Wildwood to make sure that we have a culture here that promotes people to be themselves, to be their authentic selves. That's what DEI is about. So we want to make sure that we are welcoming here, and whether they come into City Hall or they interact with their elected officials or people in the city staff, we want to make sure that experience is across the board here. And you know what? Most people, they do a very good job. They follow the laws. They do a great, interaction with our city. So you know what? I think that's a great opportunity, for us to focus on. So thank you for asking the question.
Okay, I'm going to ask one more question and then we'll move to closing statements. I will say we had a few questions along the lines of why are you the better candidate? What qualities do you bring that means we should vote for you, et cetera. I'm not going to ask those. If you could kind of address that in your closing statement, I think that would be best. But I will ask one more question. And we start with you, Mr. Garitano. What are your thoughts about the $400,000 budgeted for the resident requested hard courts to be located in the town center?
You're speaking in reference to pickleball courts, and that's been a very popular request by our residents in the city. I have people that come to me in Ward 8 that actually go play pickleball, the hard courts in other cities. And so they'd like to take advantage of those opportunities here in Wildwood. Wildwood is a city of 35,417 people. We're a big player when it comes to St. Louis County. We're the third largest city in the state. We should have the amenities here for our residents as long as we're able to fiscally be responsible in paying for those. So as far as the pickleball courts go, there's been a lot of discussion in committee and obviously in council. There was a proposal to put those over in the community park. Unfortunately, that changed. It's now being proposed to be put in the town center here, but we're still going to focus on getting them. And I think there's more opportunities, more recreational type opportunities. We do a fantastic job with our parks, our trails. So we got to expand on that. And that's, again, building community that lets people to get together and interact.
Thank you. Salvatore?
We have those at the YMCA, we have them at Lifetime, we have them at other facilities throughout within the 5-mile radius here. There's multiple places that you can play pickleball. And I'm not a pickleball player, but there's a lot of people who do play it. But we were talking about green space here, and we were supposed to have, the town center was supposed to be dedicated to green space. We're supposed to have a green space area where all the residents and others can go ahead and go to events. And it's been what, 20, almost 30 years, and we don't have it. Hopefully it'll come soon. I would rather put that money into green space and also into getting better reception for telephones, and also for the computers in wards 1 and 6. There's other needs that are much higher priorities. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to closing statements now. We'll start with you, Mr. Garitano, and you will have 2 minutes.
All right. And just to give an update, construction is starting this week on the Village Street.
Yeah. We could move to closing statements.
Okay, good. All right. As we come to the close of this forum, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the League of Women Voters, to everyone present, to those joining us online for this vital conversation about the future of Wildwood. I am Joe Garitano, the candidate for mayor, and it has been my privilege to serve this community for over a decade, a community I deeply love. Tonight, we discussed a range of issues, from our economic development to city services to residents being heard, valued, and represented. These discussions underscore the critical choice facing Wildwood in this election, a choice between continuing a legacy of dedicated service or veering towards another path. My commitment to Wildwood is unwavering. It's not just a commitment to the preservation of our green spaces and our city thriving in a manner that respects our unique character and values. It's a commitment to you, the residents of Wildwood, to ensure that our city remains a place where every person can thrive, where community and nature walk hand in hand, and where our children can grow up in a city that they are proud to call home. This election is indeed a pivotal moment. It's an opportunity for us to reaffirm our shared vision for Wildwood, a vision of a safe place for our families to grow, of leadership that is transparent and accountable, and of a community that stands together, strong, and united in the face of challenges. I love Wildwood. I believe in our city, and I'm committed to making a positive impact for all our residents. As we look into the future, I ask for your support, not just for me, but for the vision of Wildwood that we all believe in. Together, let's choose a path of integrity, service, and community. Together, let's continue to build a Wildwood that we can all be proud of, now and for all generations to come. Thank you once again for your engagement, your passion, and your belief in the potential of our city. Let's move forward together with hearts full of hope and hands ready to work the Wildwood we love.
Mr. Salvatore.
Yeah, a little bit about me. Maybe people don't know, but I have a 22-year military career. I rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel. Most of that time I flew fighters and cargo aircraft C-130s. And then I joined the Air National Guard in Missouri and flew for TWA and American Airlines. Been married to my very smart wife and for 47 years, 4 children, 2 grandchildren. I'll go to the closing statement. I have it written down here, but sometimes I go off script. Some of the changes I would like to make in the city of Wildwood are open meetings with citizen input, no charges for records requests, no time clock. That clock's going to go away. No time clock for citizen input. Make the city government more user-friendly. If elected, the citizens of Wildwood will be my top priority. From unlimited speaker time at the podium, as it was prior to this administration, to open, transparent meetings with citizen input. I promise to put citizens and their constitutional rights first. I will conduct meetings with full transparency and accountability, and will support proper planning and zoning to adhere to our master plan, so as to maintain the beauty of Wildwood that we love. Thank you very much. Those of you who want to vote early, you can vote at Daniel Boone Library. It started last week. You can go Monday through Friday of this week from 8 o'clock till 4:30, and on Saturday from 9 to 1. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you. Let's have a round of applause for your candidates for mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Let's see if I can still talk through this and turn around and look at you all. If we could have the candidates for council replace the mayoral candidates on the stage, please. All right, are you moving or okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, I'd like to thank the candidates for running for council. You are all running, most of you, for different wards, but we will ask the question and everybody gets to answer the same question. We have our timer K here. Just to remind you, it's 2 minutes for opening statements, 1 minute to answer the question, and then 2 minutes for closing. And we will start at this end for opening statements and at this end for closing. So same person doesn't get to go first. And then I will rotate who gets to answer the question first. Please keep me on track with this, but I swear this is the hardest part of moderating these forums, is trying to keep track of who's supposed to go next. So we'll start with opening statements. Ms. Vedvig, if you would like to go first, you have 2 minutes.
So, it's on the first pages, and everyone should read it, so they understand where we came from.
Can you lean closer to the microphone and make sure that it is turned on? We want to make sure everybody can hear you.
How's that?
If you would like to start over, you may, since I
I
interrupted.
hope I don't blow everybody up now, because I am kind of loud. Okay. Okay, so going back, the plan of intents on the city's website. It's 130 pages, and everyone should take the time to read it. It gives you the history of where we came from. I was actually there, and that's how I got sold on this effort, by meeting the people who put it together. So with that, I'm not going to go through a lot because I only got 2 minutes. I want you to know anything I say tonight, I can prove. I have the documents. So if I say something, it's because I have the documentation to back it up. So the city was established, and we're looking at the protection of the green belt formed by Babler, Rockwood, and Greensfelders parks. The city was established by the residents, and it was established for the residents of this city. And you're going to find out I'm pretty passionate about this, so I might stumble every now and then, okay? But you have the plan of intent, the master plan, the charter, and we also have something called the Sunshine Law. And most recently, the city of Wildwood, the elected officials have been reprimanded not once, but twice by the Missouri Attorney General's office for not following the Sunshine Laws. And you know, it's downright embarrassing. And if you look at the December 5th, 23 meeting minutes of the Admin and Public Works Committee, you'll see they approved 14 meeting minutes going back as far as February. You can't do that and have open and transparent government. Again, I wouldn't be saying it if I couldn't document it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Wroblewski, let's just check your mic before you get into the swing of it.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Got it? Okay. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity tonight. I'd also like to thank again the city of Wildwood for hosting. Not every city offers this opportunity for candidates like this one. Thanks to the candidates for participating and the residents that all came out tonight in the weather. As indicated, I am Vicki Wroblewski, and the reason I'm running for city council is pretty simple. I have time to devote to full-time community service now that I'm retired from my full-time career. Giving to others has always been a part of my life, and I really can't think of a better way to support our community. I grew up in Baldwin, enjoying Babbler State Park and Rockwoods Reservation. I bought my first house in Wildwood in 1993 next to what would become the town center, and I've lived in the city for over 30 years. I've been excited to see the city grow and develop from the beginning. With the strategic foundation and the master plan, the growth has kept Wildwood unique and created an awesome place to live. I'm currently serving as president of the board of directors for Windsor Crest subdivision and was a Seven Hills South trustee for 11 years. I've attended quite a few city council, planning and zoning, and admin public works committee meetings over the years and feel I have what the city needs given my work and service background. I've worked in healthcare for most of my career and most recently served as director of human resources at St. Luke's Hospital until retiring. Healthcare is very fast-paced. Quick and effective communication is essential to make decisions in a 24/7 environment where responding in hours is standard practice. I would like to use that experience to help the city grow in its ability to advance communication efforts. More information needs to flow out to neighbors using the many types of media available, so we know what people are thinking before it comes an issue for public comment. Not every neighbor wants to be involved at the
Thank
level
you.
I do, but I know every neighbor has an opinion that they would like to have shared. Thank you.
Slaughter, just say something. Are we good?
Hello. Great. I would like to thank the League of Women's Voters for hosting tonight. As Vicki mentioned, this is a really special event that we get to host in Wildwood. My name is Ashley Slaughter, and I am running to be your Ward 1 council member. My husband and I chose Wildwood. When we were moving back to the Midwest a few years ago, we wrote a long list of all of the great cities that West County has to offer, and Wildwood won by a landslide. With over a decade of educational and professional experience in the nonprofit and association space, I feel like I can fill a gap that I currently see on the council when it comes to revenue diversification projects and overall budgeting projects. It's really where I excel professionally, and I would love to bring that service to the city. Currently, I serve on 2 city commissions, one of which I co-chair. It's been an incredible joy to serve the city, and I hope that I have the pleasure to continue to do so as your Ward 1 councilman. I'm really passionate about preserving the green space in Wildwood. I think it makes our city so special. I'm really passionate about protecting the agricultural areas of our city. A lot of you know there is current legislation that is affecting these areas. I've spoken out as a citizen, and I would hopefully continue to do so as a Ward 1 council member. I am looking forward to seeing what Town Center looks like in 5 years as we continue to make progress on developing more green space in Town Center. Number 1 passion project for me is going to be phase 2 of the internet project. When we moved to Wildwood, we had no internet. And though we are connected now, I know there are many people in Wildwood who are not. I will be very passionately advocating that every single member of Ward 6 who does not have internet, Ward 2 that does not have internet, and anyone else who is affected has internet. Lastly, I'd like to remind you to vote on April 2nd. Thank you.
Mr. Mabry,
Good evening, I'm Bob
you
Mabry.
could lean towards the mic.
Thank you. Good evening, I'm Bob Mabry, candidate for council member for Ward 2. After deciding this area would be where my wife and I would call home, we spent a year and a half driving throughout the region on weekends to buy and build 37 years ago in what would end up becoming Wildwood. I support the same things for our city as I have since building here that long ago. Green space preservation, thoughtful controlled development, watershed management, erosion mitigation, public safety investment, best business case use of citizen tax dollars, service-based, value-weighted fiscal management, phase 2, high-speed internet, the common theme. I've retired just this year, and as an empty nester with my wife, I have the time and the energy to communicate our ward's voice to the city staff, the mayor, and other council members. My qualifications for effective service: born and raised St. Louisan, Wildwood resident 36 years, and current trustee of my subdivision. a career encompassing all aspects of project leadership, predominantly manufacturing, building construction across private sector, institutional, government environments. MBA from Lindenwood, Bachelor of Studies at UMSL, international roles throughout the Middle East, Southeast Asia, China, including U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Department of State, former St. Louis County Planning and Zoning Commissioner, and Chair of St. Louis County's Wild Horse Valley Community Area Study. Professional certifications mean a good deal to many people, I hope. Project management professional, certified cost professional, and certified construction manager. Currently a St. Louis County election judge. Thank you, and I applaud your efforts having this forum.
Mr. Fong.
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. It's not every night up here that we have a big crowd, so it's really exciting to get to see everybody participating, because I really do think that voting is one of the most important things we get to do. I've had the great honor of representing Ward 4 since 2019. I was appointed to fill a vacated seat by a unanimous vote, and if you have followed Wildwood politics for very long, that's sometimes not a small feat in and of itself. But I was very happy to do that. I'm the current chair of the Watershed Erosion Task Force. I'm the vice chair of the Admin and Public Works Committee. I've served as the vice chair of the Parks and Planning Committee. I'm on the Building Task Force to try to get us repaired here at City Hall. And I also serve as the president of the West Glen Farms Homeowners Association. I think what has struck me so far this evening, and maybe we'll keep hearing this, is a little bit of a tale of two cities. I grew up in Wildwood off Wild Horse Creek Road. I've been a part of the city for most of my life, and I'm pretty pleased with how things are going. There's certainly things we can do better, but it's things that we need to do and work on together. And to do that, you do need to listen to other people, and you need to come to compromises on certain things. We don't always get all of the things that we want to get. But I do think that when we work together, we get the best of what we can have. So I'm excited to hear what everybody else has to say tonight. And thanks again for coming out.
Mr. Preston.
Good evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, and for everyone who chose to get involved here tonight. It's great to see this kind of community engagement, and I think always the more people involved and taking part in the process, the better. So I've been on two committees here in Wildwood for the last 3 years. One, the Board of Public Safety, and then only like the last 6 months on the Historic Preservation Committee. And when I knew the position for Ward 1 was going to come open, it made me really kind of look at the process and kind of really, I think, develop kind of a way I approach this. As I familiarized myself with all the documents of the city, taking into account my own experience just with service to the city, kind of developed some of my main plans and goals that I would hope to keep in mind. And I think, aside from the service to the people of the city, I think there's a little bit of a personal thing to this too, that I just think Wildwood right now is at a really neat kind of exciting time. We've finally, after how many years, gotten the internet project underway, which still has a lot of work, obviously, but at least it's well in motion. All of the projects around the town, it's really opened my eyes to see what unique qualities Wildwood truly has by serving on the Board of Preservation. It's just, we're really kind of a neat place, unlike anywhere else in the city, and it's a place I've really come to love. So, going forward, I just want to make sure, take on the responsibility to engage everyone in the community and make Wildwood that's the place that we can always all love.
Mr. Galani.
Working? All right. Good. All right. My name is Mike Galani. I'm from Ward 8, and I've had the pleasure of serving the Wildwood City Council now, finishing my second term. Joined in 2020, and we had a delayed election and installation due to the COVID pandemic at the time. So it was kind of an interesting period in my first term as councilman, the way we were conducting meetings and the nature of everything going on. But the reason that I originally joined council, or ran for council for that matter, was because I believe in a government that serves the people. And in today's world, I think a lot of us don't feel that in general on every level of government. And so that was kind of the motive for me to join the council and make sure that the constituents were being served and the decisions were being made in the best interests of the people, both fiscally and policy wise. So when I got on the council, I didn't really have a strong background on how this body of government worked on a city level, but I learned quickly. And that was another part of why I wanted to be a part of that from a community service aspect, as well as learning the inner workings and meeting a lot of new people. And so I can say with pleasure that I've been able to do all of those things on this council. And I've heard a lot of things about Wildwood politics in the past and whatnot. And once again, I wasn't privy to it. But what I can say is that the nature of how business is conducted with this council right now, I couldn't be more pleased. On a fiscal level, we're operating with a surplus of over $16 million in reserves. That's something that most cities can't say. And most governments don't even operate on a balanced budget, let alone have reserves. So as far as policies, I love the green space. I love the natural beauty of our city. And I think everyone I'm aware of on council feels the same way. I don't know anybody that thinks differently. Sensible development is important because I do believe that we have treated developers in this city unfairly in a lot of cases. So I think development is good, but it's got to be sensible, and I support that. So I look for another term to be able to serve the people of Wildwood and work with the great people that I've had the ability to work with so far. Thank you.
Strattenberg.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for sponsoring this event. And thank you all for being here. This is democracy in action when you come out to hear your candidates. When I joined the city council 3 years ago, I made 3 promises to the constituents of my 3rd ward. And that was I would exercise fiscal restraint, I would protect your neighborhoods, and I would work to make our streets safer. When it comes to fiscal restraint, I supported an effort to keep a sales use tax off the ballot because I didn't feel it was appropriate for this council to be considering increasing your taxes at a time when inflation was high, when interest rates were high, and you were having a hard time coping with the cost of living. At the same time, we approved a tax cut on natural gas, the natural gas that you use to heat your homes and to cook your meals. That was to help you cope with the rising cost of energy. When it comes to protecting your neighborhoods, I supported an effort that this council passed to toughen penalties for vehicle tampering. That's when people come down the street and flip the car door handles to see if the car doors are unlocked. As a result of those tougher penalties, we've seen a drop off in vehicle tampering and car break-ins. I've also supported efforts to make our streets safer, which include putting J-turns out on the western part of Highway 100. Also, as you've probably read, we're going to be providing roundabouts on 109 and at 109 in BA and 109 in Wild Horse. We'll complete a resurfacing project on 109. And also we're taking a look at doing a safety study on the corridor on 109 from BA down to Clayton Road. And going forward, I'll continue to support expanding high-speed internet to underserved parts of the city. And then finally, finding a solution in finding funding to fix the erosion issues that are all throughout our watershed. Thank you very much.
Dr. Rambo.
Test, test, test. Oh, great. Works. Thank you all for coming out in the rain. I trust that my resume would suffice, but it would take the whole 2 minutes to run through it, and I'm not going to waste your time or my own. Many of you know that I'm a proud 5th generation of the same family land where I was born in Western Wildwood. And I'm equally proud and grateful to be serving Ward 6 on this council. I've approached my service with a sense of dedication and a belief in the power of collaboration. I'm confident that I've met my commitments to behave with integrity and with civility, and have worked very hard to establish responsibility as my personal brand. I've shown up to council, committee, and other meetings without fail, ready to listen to all concerns, to consider all points of view, and do whatever I can to assist any resident who reaches out. As an engineer and a scientist, I've been able to contribute meaningfully to some of our most successful recent projects. My lifelong commitment to conservation has led me to devote many years to habitat restoration and preserving the natural beauty of my own critical part of what's been called the Wildwood Greenbelt. I hope to continue doing my part to build a city in which the voices of all residents are heard, where our natural heritage is treasured and protected, and in which we can all be proud to call home. I'm truly grateful for your trust, your past support, and the opportunity to serve you, and I'd appreciate your continued support on April 2nd, even though I'm running unopposed. Thank you.
Smith McCutcheon.
Can you hear me? Thank you, everybody, for coming out this evening. Greatly appreciate you participating in our government. Thank you to the League of Women's Voters for hosting this event. And thank you to the City of Wildwood for providing us the space for us to all participate and listen together. I've been a resident of Wildwood for 29 years. I was appointed to City Council in 2011, and I have been reelected at least 6 times, and I have served on 15 committees, including the Town Center Update Committee and the Master Plan Up Committee. I've been effectively representing residents by obtaining their input on city issues. I have a proven track record of getting things done for the people. I've been instrumental in the following, but not limited to, as requested by residents: the development of Green Pines Park, the initiated year-round access to restrooms in Green Pines and Anniversary Park, Cox Creek erosion mitigation, particularly in Shiva and Evergreen Estates, initiating Wildwood's first domestic violence ordinance, obtaining developer escrow funds for subdivision improvements, enhancing green space, assisting residents with developmental concerns and developmental violations, increasing government transparency and communication for all residents, improving safety throughout the ward, such as installation of warning lights and pedestrian crosswalks, moving the crossing at Taylor Road and Highway 100 farther west for safer passage, installation of stop signs and solar speed warning signs, mitigating traffic concerns, initiating a sound study to decrease the sound along Highway 100 and 109 corridor, and working with the police department to reduce speeding. And when I'm reelected, my number one priority will continue to be, as it has always been, to listen to the people, advocate for the people, and serving the residents of Ward 5 based on citizen input.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the questions. I will just say before we start, there were some questions that were submitted both for the mayor and the council candidates, so you will hear a couple repeats. And since there are so many of you, if any of you need me to repeat the question, by the time we get all the way over here, and I've said it when we were over here, just say so and I'll happily repeat it. Okay, so with the first question, we'll start with you, Ms. Wroblewski. What are the 3 top issues that need to be addressed in Wildwood, and what is your response to address each of these issues?
For me, representing Ward 1 neighbors is my number one goal. I want City Council to hear their voice, to help hear them make timelines faster to decision making and be aware of their interests and concerns. Second, Wildwood unique is what makes our city so special. Parks, green spaces, and attracting the right businesses and restaurants for our economic development is really the key for our future. Exploring more mixed use space development to keep folks in town center, and considering a family focus when making decisions on restaurants will really continue to help growth in the right direction. And then the third is really, there's a lot of projects already in the works with assuring internet is available, and watershed erosion is already a concern, and those are already priorities. I would love to hear from city staff and other council members on the best way I can support them on those ongoing efforts.
Thank you. Slaughter.
Top 3 priorities. First is going to be constituent and community engagement. If you follow Joe Garitano online, that is my idol. I look forward to continuing to follow you, and that is the best way that I've been able to get communication for the city. Missouri law requires cities to post agendas 24 hours prior. The city typically exceeds that, but they're not necessarily accessible. I think utilizing social media, personal newsletters, and just personal connection, great way to engage the city. Second, phase 2 of the internet project. I'm going to say it all night. And then third is logical, sustainable development. Town center has high density zoning, and we're putting in a 6-acre park. That is logical development. We are going to see foot traffic in town center, but we are getting bigger and better trees. So that's a top priority. And I would love to see, again, logical development in the city. Thank you.
Mr. Mabry?
It's rural.
I got you, Bob.
Appreciate it. Rural Internet Service Improvements Project, Phase 2. It's not a broken record. It's just reinforcing how important it is to bring communications into the 21st century, finally. And it's now within reach. Watersheds Erosion Task Force. I've lived the impressive rain that nearly swells at numerous places along Cox Creek, where I live, but then I have to imagine other major watersheds impact those other respective areas of our city just as much. And then develop, improve, reinforce municipal communications pathways to residents. Just reinforcing what others have said. The communications is key, and I found that wanting very sophisticated and elaborate website, but it's really a challenge for if it's a challenge for me, and it has been, remembering where things are, where to find them, how to associate them. That's what I want to ease for the citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine you're probably going to hear this a lot. For me, as the chair of the Watershed Erosion Task Force, watershed is probably the most important thing. And I'm really excited that I'm fairly confident by the end of this year, we're actually going to have shovels in the ground on our first set of projects, which has come a long way in 3 years. Finishing our internet project is big too. I was part of the council that took a vote to get the first part of the internet project going. We need to get that finished and cleaned up properly and move into the second phase, which would encompass filling in the donut hole, so to speak, and expanding it. And then looking at how we communicate with our residents. I've advocated for a long time that our website is great. It's confusing for me to use, and I'm really tech savvy and understand how all this stuff works, and I can't find what I need a lot of the time. So modernizing that communication so our residents are clear on what's happening, and you can kind of dispel a lot of misinformation that happens, I think, just because people don't know what's actually going on. I think that's a big part of it.
Thank you. Mr. Person?
So community engagement involvement, that takes the form of, communications of all varieties, enhanced city websites, as well as personal accessibility to all those who would look to be engaged, cultivating and bringing, continual improvement to our commercial and downtown spaces, I think is absolutely key. I have a young family, and we hear it every day. Oh, why does it take us 8 to 10 minutes to get to gas or groceries and restaurants? And I think there's opportunity there, which is not just, wave a magic wand and make it so. There's a lot of moving parts that need to be addressed. Lastly, I think maintaining what makes Wildwood Wildwood. I love the historical components, the green spaces, the privacy that we all get if you want it out here, the walking paths. I think just embracing what has always made this place great and continuing to push that forward.
Mr. Galai?
Yes, thank you. You hear me? Okay. Top 3 things that I would say would be the internet, phase 2 of the internet. Well, you've heard that before, but obviously this is a project that we've been working on very aggressively for quite some time now. We had the benefit of enjoying some amazing funding opportunities due to the pandemic that we were able to take advantage of and actually solve a significant issue that was laid before us for that project initially. And so it's awesome to see it coming together, and great to see that everyone's getting internet, but now it's a matter of getting the final pieces put in place and getting these additional phases completed. Secondly, I would say economic development. you've heard it already before as well, but there's a lot of vacant spots here in town center, and we do have some great businesses that are coming in. I have the benefit of having joined the Alloy Gym down the street here a couple months ago. That's helping me out. But it's great to see people taking chances and going into the spaces and starting businesses and taking that risk. So I think we need to figure out ways to support them and bring more people to the town center area. And then lastly, I would say watershed erosion speaks for itself. I had the pleasure of serving on that committee for a while, and it's something that we're working on and will continue to address. Thanks.
Mr. Unruh.
Yes, thank you very much. First priority is continuing the expansion of high-speed internet to underserved parts of the city. We've done a pretty good job, I think, of making high-speed internet access available west of 109. Now we need to move east of 109 and get to the underserved areas there. Number two, erosion. The worst erosion is along Calks Creek. I've gotten down into Calks Creek myself and walked from Clayton Road up to where the bridge crosses on Strecker over the creek to see how bad the erosion is. And we've got to get something done about our erosion issues. And then thirdly, everything we do has to, I think, fit into the category of protecting the rural character of our city. After all, that's why every one of us moved here, was to enjoy this great environment. So everything we do, we have to make sure it doesn't disrupt the rural character of our city. Thank you.
Dr. Rambo.
Still working. Good. Yeah, a previous council member used to remind folks that everything's been said already, but not everyone's had a chance to say it. And so I agree with everything that everybody has said down there in no particular order. My three priorities would be the internet. It was a promise to our residents. It's half done. It's been a boon for the city and with home sales and just economic development. The statement about openness and communication, that's important to me, and I think it's critical that we continue that upward trajectory. My final thing is would be ensure that we do what we can to ensure logical development that's in accordance with the master plan.
Smith McCutcheon.
Now, my initial reason for running was to listen to the residents and to advocate for them, not just in Ward 5, but in the city of Wildwood as well, and to do it in a speedy manner. Another priority of mine is to decrease density. I would much rather, and think we should, put residents' concerns before giving exceptions to developers. Yes, we need some housing in the city of Wildwood, but it doesn't need to be dense housing in the city of Wildwood. And again, as many of you have heard up here, mitigating erosion. Calks Creek runs through Ward 5, and we do have dire needs throughout our ward regarding mitigation needs. Thank you.
And now Ms. Frederick.
So there's something to think about here. These are all good discussions, and they're all municipal functions that we're talking about. But what we need to get back to is the very intent of incorporation. And the people who are here who are currently serving, I know they have good intentions. And we need to make sure that we have leaders who are following the original intent of this city. And that was to be good, straightforward, transparent leaders. We have a gentleman who had to sue the city for First Amendment rights. And what happened is there was an award, but that gentleman spent all that money on attorneys to get the actual information out. And the settlement with the city was wrong, and the city won't do this again. But this is a person who had the tenacity to stand up for residents.
Thank you.
So we need to make sure we're back at that where we incorporated. Thank you.
Right, next question, we'll start with you, Ms. Slaughter. Quite a long one.
I'm ready.
The city of Wildwood is greatly understaffed. Case in point, the city has one code inspector and one code enforcement officer to cover one of the largest municipalities in the state of Missouri. Do you agree that we need to reassess city staffing needs and to grow the departments in order to effectively administer our city government? If so, where would you propose to find the funds to hire additional staff?
Yes, I support the increased staff. The reality is, if you're going to add services, you have to find it in the budget. Let's get into the budget conversation. There's 3 ways that we make money in the city. Fines and fees. Every time you want to have a birthday party at Community Park, goes into that bucket. Second is utility taxes. Those are going down. They're decreasing. And then the third is going to be the pool sales tax. That's it. If we're going to add in these services, we've got to find the money somewhere. Nobody wants more taxes. That's big and scary to everyone, but there are logical ways to find revenue. Internet usage tax. Come with me on this. You go to Target, you pay a tax in store. Great. You buy on the Target app and pick it up. You pay a tax in store. Great. Both of those kinds of taxes go into the pool tax, add money, more staff. If you buy online, it's delivered to your house. That money is not going into our budget. That's not allowing you to find a way to serve the community. So yes, more staff. Underutilized staff isn't great, but we got to find the money somewhere. Thank you.
Maybe.
I'm gonna owe you each $5.
I think if you lean forward a little bit, it'll be louder.
And this penalty keep my time going. Yes, the answer is obvious. Yes, we need adequate staff to adequately serve the citizens, and having zone enforcement and having adequate application reviews, and then appropriate administration of the permits themselves. I'm going to advocate that the people that need that service of applying for a permit will pay for that service. I've heard and read briefly that there's an increase to the permit application fee. That's appropriate. We've also heard that utilities are taxed in Wildwood. I just looked at my electric bill today, and it's right at 5.25%. Every utility deserves to be taxed. If electricity deserves to be taxed, so does every other utility, as would the internet service when it comes finally. So charging those who require a service what the charge is appropriate.
Thank you. Mr. Farmer?
Yes. The answer to the question is yes. We have a great staff here at the city. They do a tremendous job, but they are very often pulled in directions that I think a lot of times they maybe don't need to be. They're incredibly helpful, but they are very overworked. If you ever attend any of the city events on a weekend or in an evening, our city staff is there. They don't, to my knowledge, get paid a whole lot more money, if any extra money, to come to that. They're at city meetings, they're at things like that. So we definitely need to look at our staffing and how it works out. I'm also a big proponent. I think it's great that we have a $16 million surplus in our budget, but I am a believer that you don't really have a surplus in your budget if you don't have enough people to do the job, or the building you're sitting in is crumbling around you. So I think that we can look at the budget creatively. I think we can solve these problems. And I think that if we allow our staff the ability to kind of communicate what they need and be honest about that, we'll be in good shape. They're very prideful people. They've been doing this a long time, and they need some help.
Thank you. Mr. Preston?
So in agreement with everyone else, I would say yes as well. We have wonderful people here who work at the city. Everyone who I've engaged with over the last 3 or so years has been wonderful. And I would agree that they probably do seem overworked, and everyone gets pulled in a lot of directions. And I think we have more than enough. I guess I look at it as also a quality of life thing for everyone. If we need permits in a timely manner, what's the point if we don't have the staff to do so? So with allocation of funds, be it there's a number of ways to get there, but I think it's kind of a no-brainer that we would look at adequately staffing the services that kind of run our everyday lives and facilitate the things that we do every day. Thank you.
Mr. Galani?
Thank you. Councilmember Farmer stole my answer.
Yeah, mine too.
No, I would echo those sentiments though, pretty closely. I mean, first I'd like to say that the staff we have is phenomenal. We're very blessed and lucky in this city to have the people working for the city that we do, because they work tirelessly, they attend all of the different events, and they're always willing to lift a hand to figure out what they can do to help out. And so it's phenomenal, but yes, they are stretched thin a lot of times. And so I do think in order to provide the level of service that we wanted to our residents, it does require bringing on more folks from time to time. So, and then another piece that he said that I agreed with was the fact that we have had conversations on council recently about taking a look at that reserve balance that we have to see, do we really need that much? And can we reallocate some of those funds to maybe some of these other things that would benefit the city in a more fruitful way and help the residents? So, but I do feel like we do get a lot of things done very well for the residents, but we can always improve and do better. Thanks.
Mr. Rottenberg?
Yes, thank you very much. Just a little note to the audience. You'll notice that a lot of the people who work here at City Hall, they're in here before 8. They're here after 5. They're here at events like this, like Travis's. These are people who just don't work 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. They put in a lot of hours on your behalf, and we all owe them a debt of thanks. One of the examples that was mentioned was code enforcement, and do we need more staffing in code enforcement? Before I would agree that we need more staffing in code enforcement, I would want to see specific examples of how code enforcement is not occurring on a timely basis. I know that in Ward 3, code enforcement seems to get things done in a way that satisfies my constituents in Ward 3. So I'd like to see more specific examples of how we need staffing in a particular area before I would be willing to seriously consider that increase in staffing. Thank you.
Dr. Rottenberg?
Yeah, everything's already been said. But I do agree with the premise of the question. Yes, we need more staff. Folks hate taxes, but they like what they buy. The example I would use is I advocated as an arborist myself, advocated for an arborist position. We recently added one, and it's going to save us money in consulting dollars and other costs that would normally accrue to some other fund than staff. So I'm not prepared to advocate for any particular tax or any other source of funds, but we do have a very big surplus, and we need to take a look at that and the rest of the budget and figure out how to get it done. Thank you.
Smith McCutcheon?
Yeah, I'll have to agree with what everyone said. But we do need to increase our staff. I have advocated that for many years. Our staff is overwhelmed. They do have pulled in a lot of different directions. We have an excellent staff. They're really great at finding grants for us so that we can meet the needs and the wishes of the people of the city of Wildwood. And I sat on a committee where we looked at some fees that maybe we could be charging for events that we weren't charging in the past. That helps us increase revenue without harming our residents. I also think we have a large reserve, and maybe that's something we need to really look at the upcoming budget year and include funding for additional staff. We really do need additional staff.
Svedvik?
Currently, I find the staff at City Hall to be very dedicated and loyal to the residents of this community. Whether I can answer the question, should we hire someone right now here up on the dais? I can't answer that. And I don't think anyone else can unless they sit down with a pen and paper and they're working directly with the department heads. The department heads will be able to tell you that. One of the things that the city was founded on was to be a rather lean government. And the reason for that was so that there would maintain a zero property tax. If you live in Chesterfield, you pay a nice, handsome property tax. If you live in Wildwood, you do not pay a property tax to the city of Wildwood. So the function would be to sit down with the department heads, determine what is the value and what is needed, and never underestimate. And I'm not saying never underestimate. I'm not saying don't give the staff any more work to do, because they are very dedicated and loyal. Thank you.
Mr. Wroblewski?
First, I'd like to say working in public service is selfless. They're serving 16 council members and one mayor in the work they do, which pulls in many directions. First would be reviewing all the job descriptions, doing comp analysis, position review, seeing if there's any offset and value added to determine if you need additional staff in the process. And then I agree, 16 million in reserves, maybe time to look at where the money can come from. Thank you.
Okay. Next question, we'll start with you, Mr. Mayor. There are too many vacant spaces along Old Manchester Road between highways 100 and 109. How do you plan on bringing new businesses to Wildwood and retaining existing ones? And this questioner said, please be as specific as possible.
Okay.
Lean forwards.
I did that on purpose. So you got specifically the plan of intent and the charter, and using creative ways to make it a win-win for not just those who would develop and build and satisfy that charter, but also those that live there now in seeing benefits to them, not just as a rote treatise on thou shalt follow the charter. It's a good idea to follow the charter because it will benefit you how in this specific way. Thank you.
It's a really good question. And I think that I've thought about this for quite a bit, actually. So one of the things that's interesting, if you think about a lot of the buildings here in Town Center, a number of them are actually owned by out-of-state companies. Doesn't make it a bad situation. It's just the way that it is. And because they're out-of-state companies, in a lot of cases, those buildings are put into like a big file, big portfolio with other buildings, and it's just a number on a spreadsheet. They don't really understand what's going on here. They don't really doesn't seem to make a big movement in their bottom line and whether that space is rented or not. So at one time I looked at opening an office in Town Center. It was exceptionally expensive. And the reason it was that was because, good for most of us here, we're a fairly affluent city. And so that increases what the rent is, whether people understand that people are here, that people are coming to Town Center or not. So what we need to do is advertise. We need to work with these guys that own these buildings, and we need to market what we are as a community better to the business community, and bring those businesses in and support them when they're here. I mean, we've had some great restaurants that have
Thank
come
you.
and gone. Yeah.
Mr. Preston?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I've thought about it a lot because I think that's probably one of the most quality of life issues that everyone who, especially the further west you move, that we all face. Small town environment that Wildwood has, I think, is very endearing. And I think historically, aside from a lot of the hurdles that small business owners have faced there, lack of foot traffic, since COVID, at least talking about lack of help, small businesses have left and gone. So there's been very little consistency there. I think too, bringing a hometown feel to it, personally investing people, shop owners, building owners, the development around Village Green. I think that'll all be very positive to it, but I think it just needs little TLC. It needs a lot of kind of community embracement. And I think we're at least on the path to get there, but it has a long way to go. Thank you.
Kalani?
Yes, this being in my ward here in Ward 8 is especially important to me. I would say that for most of the businesses that line the stretch of road that you mentioned in the question, there's small local businesses. I know the office to Councilmember Farmer's point here in Town Center area, there's a lot of office space, but along that stretch of Manchester, you've got a lot of family and privately owned businesses. And the number one thing that impacts folks like that to be able to succeed is going to be traffic and people coming around. And I don't mean car traffic, like bumper to bumper or anything, but people coming around the area. So we need to get more people into Town Center. And I think with the Village Green development that we're doing, that's going to be something that's going to draw more people into the center of town, which is where these businesses are and will allow them to thrive. I do think that sensible development that I mentioned earlier, which would allow folks to be a part of the community in the high density zoned areas of Town Center, that are part of the master plan. I think that's important too. So at the end of the day, these folks need patrons. And then the one way to have patrons is to have people in a vibrant town center area. Thank you.
Strottenberg.
Yes, thank you very much. I've spoken on the topic of economic development to a number of groups. A couple of things to keep in mind, tagging on to what Councilmember Galani said. Vehicular traffic is very important for support of businesses. We have about 22,000 vehicles a day that come through town center versus going over to the intersection of Clayton and Clarkson, where the vehicular traffic volume is about 4 times the size of what we see here in town center. Our population density is about 529 people per square mile versus over in Baldwin where it's 3,430 people per square mile. So population density is also a determinant of what types of businesses are willing to relocate here. Recently, we had a nice success story. The Bank of Houston from Houston, Missouri, opened up a branch here in the empty bank building that sits over there by Vallarta. They specialize in loans to small and medium-sized businesses. So that'll be a great support for those small to medium-sized businesses that are looking to possibly open here in our community. Thank you.
Dr. Rambo.
Yes, I don't serve on Economic Development Committee. That's certainly not my forte, but I have seen that we have a lot of competing pressures to reconcile. And my personal opinion is we need patrons for businesses. That means more residents in our high density zoning areas, and people don't like that. And so our job as council is to reconcile those tensions and figure out how we can add some density in the appropriate areas that are already zoned to support them, and do it in such a manner that it doesn't hurt our environment, increase traffic, and so on and so forth. It's a tough job, but that's why you elect us. So thank you.
Ms. Smith-McCutcheon.
Yeah, the intent of Wildwood was to be a bedroom community. It was not to be a hub for economic development. Do we need economic development? Sure. We need that income and that tax dollars and the support to provide residents with the things that they need and their want. I think one of our main concerns is where we're located. There are many developed other cities right around us that is easy for our residents to go to have their needs met. And the other thing that is of concern to me is we often see developers building space before they know it needs to be filled, because we already have spaces that are not filled. And the other thing I think that we need to do something to address quickly is the SID here in town center, because that's what increases the rent within the town center area.
Svedwick.
So the city was designed to accommodate 55,000 people when fully developed. We are at 35,000. What we need is a dose of patience. We've been incorporated for 28 years. We need to look at the success that we have accomplished, that you have accomplished. You're the residents of this community. You're the stairwell that keeps things going. And that's why it was incorporated. It's been a huge success. And if you want to talk about zoning, you're always going to get back to zoning when you're talking to me. But zoning, our zoning ordinance has been the premier success in preservation of this community. If you look down 40, you got Chesterfield, you go 44, you got Eureka. We're not those communities. We're in the middle. We are a planned development community, and we're doing great. Okay? Thank you.
Ms. Wroblewski.
First, I think part of it is probably small businesses have difficulty paying the high rents, which we've all already seen and been talked about. We truly need to be more flexible. I think in our approach, we had Lions Choice. As I walked Ward 1, I heard a lot about Lions Choice and leaving the area. And why can't we be more flexible? They wanted to have a drive-through. We have moms with children who can't do that unless they go somewhere else to try and pick up dinner. We also probably need to be a little bit more creative in our approach. I know we everybody's been trying, but maybe to try and put two businesses together in one space so that they can share to try and meet those needs with what it costs to be there.
Ms. Slaughter.
Businesses need people. The reality is there's not the foot traffic in town center currently to sustain the infrastructure that we have. Zoning, zoning, zoning. We are zoned for high density. I've been really excited to see some of the mock-ups of what's coming. Also with Village Green, close and breaking ground, hopefully soon, we're going to see more people. So one, I think that's going to be helpful. Second, I think we need to set business owners up for success. Previously, there was an economic development manager on staff. I think that's a critical role. I think that when folks are coming to build their businesses here, they might not know who we are. We are a unique population. It is a bedroom community, but by golly, I really want a Chipotle. But how are they going to know to market to us? We need to support them as a city, and we need to make sure that as folks who are hopefully elected, we tell our constituents, spend your money here, develop Wildwood's economic footprint. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question and then we'll do our closing statements. So we will start with you, Mr. Farmer. What are your thoughts on Wildwood's need for housing? Are you in favor of or against developing more single-family homes and or multifamily properties?
I'm in favor of smart development. And what I mean by that is we do have areas of town that are zoned to accommodate housing, and it should accommodate that housing. I'm certainly willing to listen to developers that might come with a different or unique idea to what that means. But the green space is important to me. The watershed is important to me. Doing things the right way is important to me because I'm a very firm believer that we kind of only get one shot at doing this the right way. And so we should take our time and figure out that it's being done correctly. I also think that we need to take a look at our ordinances in terms of what it means when we grant certain things. We have developments that sometimes have taken 20 years to come together. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes it is because developers are just trying to scoop spaces up and stick something in there. So I think working together, not having like an adversarial relationship with people, but working together to explain what we're looking for is the most important thing.
Preston?
Yes, thoughtful development in a very thought out fashion, I think, is of the key nature to keep Wildwood kind of special. Yeah, I mean, I think we've all driven through Chesterfield here in the last several years, and you go up and down Wild Horse Creek Drive, and it's almost Whoville out there that every neighborhood's the exact same. And we don't have that aesthetic or that feel here to Wildwood. There's multiple types of housing to accommodate for the various zoning areas of the city. And I think all of them do play a necessary role. And so long as, you know, we communicate things properly to the citizenry, why we're doing things, architectural review board, keeping things consistent, I think, and unique. I think that's a way to continually define our city as the way it's been and not just become, you know, another generic looking kind of town. I think this place is special. Let's keep it that way. Thank you.
Mr. Gilani?
Yes, can you repeat the question real quick?
What are your thoughts on Wildwood's need for housing? Are you in favor of or against developing more single-family homes and or multifamily properties?
Okay, yeah, so yes, to that question, I mean, I believe we do have the master plan that lays out what that looks like and what parts of town. Obviously, once again, here in Ward 8 in my area where the higher density zoning is there and part of the plan. So I do support strategic development. And once again, I've made that clear. I think a lot of people get up in arms when you say the word development in Wildwood. And I do think also that because of the way we've handled a lot of approaches by developers, we have a relatively negative reputation amongst developers in the community. And I think we need to fix that. And so I think we need to be direct and straightforward in how we handle these projects. We recently approved a project site plan that was in process for 7 years, which is just unacceptable in my opinion. So I think we need to be strategic, we need to be thoughtful, and we need to follow the master plan, but we do need to utilize the high density areas within town center to make that happen. Thanks.
I also support smart development of the land that's zoned for single family and multifamily housing throughout the city. The main overall goal has to be housing that fits in with the rural character of our city. If you go through the various wards, one of the things that makes Wildwood unique is, I think, the variety of housing that you see, the way the various subdivisions are laid out. And variety is one of the other council member candidates mentioned tonight, is one of the things that make Wildwood unique. So yes, I support development when it's done in a smart, well-considered manner. Thank you.
Next time I plan to sit to my colleagues' right, so I don't sound like a parrot. It's sensible development. That's the watchword. My opinion is that we do need a range of housing. It should be in town center where it's properly zoned for high density. That would increase foot traffic and all the other things that we want. I personally would like to have more restaurant options in town center, and you can't get those unless you have more people to patronize the restaurants. And so I would say that range of housing would bring in maybe young folks, new families, downsizers, et cetera. Also, businesses need employees. And so I favor tasteful multifamily development where it's properly zoned. And I am the guy on council that complains most about the aesthetics and the environmental impacts of every development. So I'm not talking about, mobile homes. So thank you.
Smith McCutcheon.
Yes, I think we need additional housing in the city of Wildwood, but I think it's specific additional housing that we need. We have young families coming to Wildwood to start. They grew up here. They would like to reside here. So we need housing or apartments that is affordable for our families who are starter families. I believe in strategic development. I believe in following the master plan. And I believe in giving developers fewer variances and sticking more to our master plan. I know they said, well, we don't work well with developers. I think we do. I think sometimes we give away the store, and I think we need to be more careful about the variances that we allow and stick closer to the master plan.
Svedvik.
So when you talk about different housing options, town center is 800 acres. It's one of the largest town centers in the entire country. It has the opportunity to have single-family homes, attached homes, apartments, and live-work units. And to date, the council, I'm not saying this council, but the council or planning commission often turns down apartments. And we have the benefit of a YMCA and a community college. And apartments near there would be a big plus for the population in that area. So I think it's dependent on this council to re-educate our residents on what can and cannot go. One thing though, developers, there are hundreds of developers that have come in this city. They pick up the plans for the city and they go and they meet those plans. That's why we have a lot of successful developments.
Thank you.
And you have to quit asking these complicated questions and only giving a minute to answer.
Questions come from the citizens, ma'am. It wasn't me. Ms. Wroblewski, same question.
The reason I live in Wildwood is I was here before the city created the master plan, but tend to like that there's a plan in place that has mixed variety of housing. The more densely populated, I live in. I love it. I love having the alleys. I think that's part of what makes us unique. But I think it's also important that we have the variety of housing. So I do support more single use and multi housing development.
Slaughter.
My in-laws purchased their starter home here 35 years ago. My husband and I purchased our starter home, and it was a process. It was difficult. There's a housing crisis, not only in Missouri, but in the country. we need to develop. I sit in a lot of city council meetings and I think they're doing a really good job right now. I am a fan of the Architectural Review Board. I think that is where we keep our integrity. I think that is where we keep our master plan front of thought. So development needs to happen. People need places to live. We want to see our economic footprint in Wildwood grow, but we don't want to be the parking lot that is Manchester. So let's continue to follow the master plan. Let's continue to put our trust in the volunteers of the Architectural Review Board and smart, sustainable development. Thank you.
Mr. Mabry.
Time.
It's my turn.
What are your thoughts on Wildwood's need for housing? Are you in favor of or against developing more single-family homes and or multifamily properties?
I apologize. I was writing because the question had reminded me of something. I'd become active in steady stream of developments throughout the area I had just moved to, northern area of Ward 2. Joined others, neighbors, residents I learned about, making our perspectives and concerns known by the county. This led to my being appointed to the County Planning and Zoning Commission. A proposal eventually called Wild Horse subdivision met with adamant opposition by the community leaders. I saw an opportunity through the scale of this project to work with planning department to optimize it for its utilities and services it would be bringing to this area, and especially to the existing residents. Features of the final approved plan had a local opponent of the project initially come to me at about the point of build out and say that they had thought it turned out to be a quite attractive subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to closing statements. You have 2 minutes each. I'm going to start at this end of the table this time. So Dr. Rambo, you can say your piece before most of the rest of them this time. So 2 minutes, and we will start with Ms. Smith-McCutcheon.
Okay. I've kept the promises made when elected by working with residents to make a neighborhood park a reality, addressing erosion concerns, listening to and advocating for residents. Through various committees, I've worked to increase government communication with residents via live stream and obtaining expansion of the mailing radius for public information. Participated in developing the neighborhood edge transition area, creating less density in town center. Assisted in clarifying and streamlining governmental processes, worked to decrease city expenditures and increase revenue, mitigated Cox Creek erosion, installation of pickleball courts, basketball courts, and tennis courts, which was for community park, by the way. Ordinance requiring developers to replace grand trees and tree stands removed during development, along with fees being assessed for each tree removed. I'm currently working on resident requests regarding a trail connecting Green Pines Park to the villages of Brightleaf, installation of the Pond Grover Parkway landscape median, and mitigation of noise along Highway 100 and 109 corridor. I promise to continue to listen and advocate for residents with honesty, integrity, and transparency, and to uphold founders' vision of a government of, for, and by the people. I thank you for the honor and privilege to be your voice on City Council. I look forward to continue working with you as your representative. And thank you very much for sponsoring this event for this evening so that our residents are more informed. Thank you.
Now it's my turn. Good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Decades ago, the captain told Cool Hand Luke that a man has got to know his limitations. And that's why, as an introvert accustomed to lengthy, rigorously factual academic arguments with a whiteboard and no time limits, I was a reluctant recruit for this office 4 years ago. My principal reason to join City Council at the time was to reduce some of the heat, to be honest. And I was determined to consider all perspectives, do my homework, and then some. Seek common ground, and above all, to disagree without being disagreeable. I believe that myself and my current colleagues have, for the most part, have done so, and I hope to continue on that path. So thank you for your support.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for coming here and putting on this event. Thank you all in the audience for being here tonight. It's been a pleasure to serve this city since 2021, when I was first appointed to the city council. I was fortunate enough to be reelected 2 years ago. My goals for the future, I will continue doing the 3 things I said I would do before, which is exercising fiscal restraint, looking at every expense, spending your tax money as if it were my own. I'll continue pushing to protect your neighborhoods so that your kids can play outside in safety, so that you can walk the sidewalks and walk the trail system in the city and feel safe while you're doing it. And I'll continue to fight for safe streets within the city. The examples I mentioned before of highway safety improvements along 109 and along Highway 100 are examples of that effort. And sooner or later, we've got to find some way to fix some of the traffic safety issues over along Old State Road. My wife and I moved here with our 2 kids 28 years ago. My daughter now lives in the city with my 3 grandchildren. And I want the city to continue to be a great place to live. And the only way that will happen is with your help and your input. I've knocked on 500 doors this election cycle and probably will cross the 600 door threshold by the time of the election on April 2nd. We can't represent the people unless we know what's on your mind. So thank you all for your support, and thank you again for being here. Oh, and one last thing, if you would like to know more about my work on the city council, please go to my website, scottforwildwood.com. That's Scott, F-O-R, wildwood.com. Thank you.
Mr. Galani.
Yes, I'd like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters again for putting on this forum tonight, and for all of you residents who are in attendance and been able to sit here through all of us taking turns saying the same thing on a lot of questions. But I really appreciate it. And I've talked to some of you, and it's always great to see residents and hear from residents. And sometimes you guys might feel when you come into a meeting that maybe you're not being heard, but you are. And then the council loves hearing from you, and the folks love hearing from you. So, but my wife and I moved out to Wildwood 12 years ago with our relatively newborn children. I never envisioned that I would be sitting on city council. That wasn't part of my master plan at the time. But it's been an amazing run here in this city and raising our children here. And they both attend St. Alban Row, great school in the Wildwood community, and our closest friends are here. And so it's just an amazing place. And I advocate it to anyone I talk to wherever I go. And my time on council has been excellent as well. And I've had such a joy working with everyone on here, and I look forward to being able to serve the city some more and serving you residents. I've had the benefit of being on the Watershed Erosion Task Force, the Economic Development Committee, Historic Preservation Committee, the Town Center Update Team Committee, and most recently right now I'm the chair of the Parks and Planning Committee. So I've had a lot of experience working with everybody in different facets of the city governance, and I look forward to continue doing that. So I look for your support on Election Day, and thank you very much.
Person.
Yes, thank you for everyone for being here, for the League of Women Voters for hosting, and for all the city, residents that wanted to get involved and come out and learn a little bit more about everybody. I find that extremely important. I've lived in St. Louis for 33 years now, in Chesterfield, and then my family and I finally found our way out this way about 4.5, 5 years ago, and absolutely fell in love with everything about it. We like the natural backdrop. Everyone we've met here has been, a neighbor and a friend, and we've really just enjoyed our time out here. When I first got involved in city government here, I kind of just did it. I was approached and I was like, yeah, that sounds like something I'd enjoy. It's good to get engaged and, try and give back to the community. Fast forward 3 years to today, and I can say that everyone I've met and gotten to know and participated in those committees and boards with have been absolutely wonderful people. I think everyone has the best intentions for the community. I think the thing that I've liked about the job most of all is the opportunity to touch base and really talk with people. And we've had only a couple of what I would say strong issues arise. One of them being the shooting range issue there off of 109, where I was personally contacted and had multi-month-long relationships with a number of residents who were directly impacted by that. And I think that really kind of opened my eyes to what true community involvement and giving back meant. So this seems like a very interesting and relevant next step, and I hope I can earn your support and I appreciate any input, and if you want to reach out to me post-meeting, please feel free to do so at Preston for Wildwood on Facebook, or I think about that's probably the best way. Thank you.
Mr. Palmer.
In 2019, when I first met with the mayor about the open Ward 4 seat, I told him that I thought I would probably be okay at this job, but I really wasn't interested in, at the time, there just was like story after story in the paper about what kind of a circus was happening in City Hall. And I said, if you want somebody that is going to play that game, I am not the person that you want to have sit in this seat. I don't do that very well. I'm not interested in it. I want to get things done. I want to work for the people, and I want to make things efficient. And so I've had the very good fortune since being appointed, running a couple times and winning, working with some great people where we really don't all have the same opinion, although it may sound that way a lot tonight. But we all work together, and we all respect each other, and we communicate in that way. And I'm really proud of the work that we've done over the last several years. I'd love to be able to continue doing it for the people of Ward 4. I try to be as communicative as I can be, whether it's through the website in my subdivision that I'm the president of, or talking to people on Nextdoor, or responding to emails, whatever it is. As long as your questions or comments are based in reality, I am super happy to have whatever conversation you want to have. So if you think I've been doing a great job for the last few years, I'd love your support coming up, and, vote for Joe. Can't go wrong.
Mic on.
Well done.
Within a year after moving here, I was appointed St. Louis Planning and Zoning Commission as their designated unincorporated Far West County representative. They actually called me that. I realized the importance that planning any growth must include and extend critical infrastructure and services to support not just the home building or commercial initiative under question, but to also extend the same in kind for current residents as well. During those early mid-90s, I had opportunity to contribute, make recommendations involving important developments, ordinances, complementing, supporting our shared environment, topography, wildlife, green space. The challenging part was always making certain all parties, including developers involved, were kept aware of rights considerations of those already here. Pretty easy to forget folks when they aren't heard. This relates directly to Wild Horse, amongst other not up to par developments until they were dressed up and improved. Ward 2 is the only one of 8, including both rural and high density subdivision living. During the past 3 months since filing for election, I've gone door to door, focused on gathering your perspectives, gripes, compliments about life in Wildwood. As chair of the Wild Horse Valley Community Area Study, I was proud of our group's efforts to have their guidelines and recommendations embraced and accepted as the plan of intent and eventual charter of the city of Wildwood. My wife and I both have watched this area grow, develop much as we have dreamed. I'm running unopposed, but I'm more focused on being the representative my neighbors want, not just their only choice. My career experiences, construction management, I dwelt on, U.S. government agency oversight, work as the County Planning and Zoning Commission. This would bring needed perspective to the council. Sounds highly qualified group already. A sincere thanks to the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to speak. Vote April 2nd. You're here tonight, so I know you will.
I'd like to say thank you to everyone in the room, as well as the league, for hosting. Again, my name is Ashley Slaughter, and I'm running to be your Ward 1 council member. I hope that I was able to convey my professional experience and tell you why I am the right person for the job. But if you hear nothing, let me tell you the 3 things that I'm going to do. You're going to hear from me, whether it's on my active social media channels, whether it's in my budding newsletter, or whether it's via email. You're going to hear from me. I'm going to be available, and I can't wait to hear from you. Second, we're going to get this internet thing finished. It is the thing that matters most to me. It was the thing that was most concerning when we bought our house 2 years ago, operating on quite next to nothing internet. Though most people in Ward 1 still do have internet, phase 2 is going to complete the project and make sure that we get that over the hump. So it is still important to us, Ward 1, that we get phase 2 accomplished. And lastly, I am going to be a fan of sustainable development that aligns with the master plan, but that allows Wildwood to grow in a way that me and my young family can also prosper with it. I cannot wait to see all that Town Center brings, but also I'm going to be very grateful that we are going to maintain our green spaces in accordance with the master plan. I would love to hear from you. I would love for you to follow with me. In the lobby, you're going to see I have a flyer. There's a QR code. That's where you can keep up with all the things that I'm doing, where I steal all of Joe's Instagram ideas. And don't forget to vote on April 2nd for Ashley Slaughter to be your Ward 1 council member. Thank you.
Hey, Ms. Robleski.
My father taught me when I was very young, if you've done your best, you can always be proud of what you've done. I've spent my career in public service, and I am proud that I have been a proven leader in the community. Check my endorsements on my webpage. I have managed multi-million-dollar budgets, and I am very budget conscious. During my visits to many of the Ward 1 neighbors, their view was pretty clear. Residents want more direct communication and the ability to be heard. My goal is to embrace all the media available to make sure messages are sent, voices are heard, responses are made in an efficient and timely manner. And if that means evaluating staffing to do that, it needs to happen. And decisions are made using our most valuable resource in mind, the people we serve. There are many priorities and a lot of work that's already being done and still needs to be done. By working together, we can assure that there will be a bright and productive future for Wildwood, and I would love to serve you on the council in the future. Thank you.
My name is Fedvig.
So you are sitting in one of the success stories of Wildwood. This City Hall, I went door to door, as did many people, and we worked directly with the city officials and the residents to accomplish building our own City Hall, but we did not have to have a tax increase. We paid for it. We also combined the police and the municipal services in one building for convenience for the residents. One of the architects who helped to design this building is actually in the room here. He deserves a round of applause. And so there are many wonderful success stories about Wildwood. Just because I'm asking for transparency or bringing things to your attention that are not being done correctly does not mean I don't love Wildwood. Of course I care about Wildwood. I've been here before Wildwood, and I intend to participate in the future. You know, I'm not in this just to cut ribbons. I'm here to support the people. Recently, we had a proposal before the city council, and and it was before the planning commission. 26 speakers came to the city hall and spoke opposed to the development. There were 24 residents and 2 were the petitioner. And yet today, the city council is still entertaining information on that issue. Now, this is not the way we intended the city to be. So there is nothing difficult to resolve the issues that have been discussed. You simply vote for candidates who are not afraid to speak out and follow the plan so residents know what to expect. And by the way, our intention, we can have drive-throughs in downtown town center, but our intention was not to make the city a drive-through community.
Thank you.
I have more to say, but oh well.
All right, let me turn around again here. So let's have a round of applause for all our candidates tonight. So I would like to thank the candidates for attending and also for stepping up and running. I'd like to thank all of you, both in person and online, for attending, and our hosts, the City of Wildwood, for sponsoring the event. You can find out about other candidates and issues that will be on your ballot by going to the League's Voters Guide. It's available online at vote411.org. And you might still find some paper copies in local libraries, community centers. Oh, and Barbara's waving at me. We have a couple at the back, 2 left, if you would like to see it on paper. But most importantly of all, make sure you vote, not just April 2nd, every election. You're lucky enough in St. Louis County to be able to vote at any polling place. And no excuse, absentee in-person voting is open now too. I think the closest satellite voting location for early voting is probably the Daniel Boone Library, but I'm not a local, so hopefully I didn't get that wrong. And if you find this forum to be useful, think about joining the League of Women Voters. We do accept men as well, I will tell you that. And we have plenty of volunteer opportunities for you all. Or if you don't feel up to being a member, we would love a small donation to help us with these kind of voter education efforts. So thank you to everybody. Good night.